Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Developing Reading Literacy with myON. Our speaker today is Gabriel Jaimes. So in order to have a good sequence on this session, remember we have the Q&A part where you can make some questions and we're going to answer them at the end of the session. And also remember that we're going to have a survey at the end of the session for you to evaluate this webinar. So Gabriel, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Angelica. As she said, my name is Gabriel Jaimes and I'm an academic consultant working for Richmond. Today's webinar will be talking about developing reading literacy with myON. So I'm going to give maybe a couple of minutes to see if more people get online, right? And in the meantime, please log in on the link that we just sent and please write down your name. Well, sorry to keep you waiting. Now let's start with our webinar. Now, what you need right now is to click on the link. We provided a link, right? app.nearby.com. Just click on it, write your name on it, and click on Join Session. And also in a different window, in your browser window, we are going to access myON. Right, we are going to need these two windows that I'll be showing to you. Okay, so literacy, right? Before we starting, right? Let's see where you guys are connected from. Right, open the window, right? The window that the click that I ask you to join, and please select the city where you're connected from. What city are you attending from? If not listed, please, I'm sorry, I cannot literally put, you know, like all the cities in Colombia there. So select the nearest important city to your location. I mean, you are connected, I don't know, maybe Barranca Bermeja, right? Please select Bucaramanga, right? The same if your school is somewhere in Apartador, I imagine that is near Medellin. So click on the nearest city where you're connected. All right, I see that there's people connecting from Santa Marta, from Manizales, from Bucaramanga, Bogotá, Villavicencio, right? Well, thank you very much for connecting from all those places. It's really an honor to be here, showing you like these literacy tools that we don't usually use in myON. All right, people from Medellin as well. A lot of people from Santa Marta. Great. All right, let's do this. Now, I want you to please, in a few words, you can Google if you wanted, but try to come up with your own words, right, of what is literacy in your words, right? If you're Googling, if you are accessing Wikipedia, go ahead. I have no way to restrict that information from you, but in your own words, let's try to see, or I want to see what you think literally literacy is. So I'm going to give you like a couple of minutes so you can write your answers. Right, Diana, right, all the information related to literature, right? Thank you, Diana. Right, let's see who else. Anybody else? All right, let's see what people answer. There's another answer. Right, know how to read. Right, another, the good way or not refers to. Right, guys, if you are copy and pasting, right, you try to organize it, right? The skills we have for reading. Awesome answer. All right, thank you, Betty. All right, Catherine Snap, the ability to write. Right, great. Daniela, it is used to refer to the reading and writing process, but now it has expanded. A lot of us copy pasted, you know. Not worry about it. Right, great answers here, great answers. Right, so we are going to cover a little bit of actually what literacy is. So what is literacy? I know that if you were Googling, there are tons of pages where you can find definition of literacy, but basically the one that I really like is literacy is the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, compute, and communicate using visual, audible, and digital materials across disciplines and in any context. What does it mean? It means that you are able to communicate in different spheres. And why is it important? Literacy is very important because it is, I mean, the ability to read, write, and communicate. It will connect you with the society, connects people to one another, and empowers them to achieve things they never thought possible. How do your students learn? They learn because they are observing you in class. They learn because they are listening to you. They learn because the teacher is communicating with them, right? So it's very important that we keep in mind that literacy is not just vocabulary, right? There are many things that are about literacy, and we are giving the chance to our students to interact with the word, okay? Now, when talking about literacy, right, we have like 5 elements. I'm gonna go over this like rather quick because we'll be focusing on myON, but I want to make sure you keep in mind what these pillars, these elements are. Right, so let's observe the first one, phonetic awareness. Right, don't think about phonetics, you know, about all the IPA, all the symbols. Think about how a child is able to understand something you say, right? If you say, like, for example, car, right? the child in his mind is able to understand the sound of the C, the sound of the sound, and the sound of the R sound, combining them, car. See, that is the phonemic awareness. Basically, combining 2 phonemes or 3 phonemes, kids are able to start understanding the world around them. Also, the next one is the phonetics. Right now, we are talking about all those symbols that we studied in the IPA, right? Necessary to start reading properly, right? How do we know that sometimes the PH sounds F, right? Because we have practice as well. Now, the next one that we see there is fluency. Talking about the fluency, let's say it's the ability to read with some speed without you know, being staggered in the text. I know that many of you, well, many of us, while we are in class, we ask one of our students, all right, please continue reading. And the kids sometimes panic, right? They panic because it's hard to read in front of an audience, in this case, all their peers, right? And because they don't have the fluency, well, we haven't practiced this reading fluency necessary. Even sometimes in Spanish, kids are not reading properly, right? When they have to read out loud. Okay, so we also have to practice this one. Now, the next one is vocabulary, right? Pretty straightforward. It's understanding the words in a context. Okay, this is very important because it's one of the most important literacy tools that we find in myON. Right, and the last one is definitely comprehension. All of them, they are not isolated, but they are building. They are building towards the uttermost important is comprehension, being able to understand what the text says. And remember that each text has a theme, it has a topic, it has many things. We have fiction, we have non-fiction, we have tons of books of them. Those things in myON, but keep in mind that if you are giving them a fiction test, then we can ask them about what characters are important. We can ask them about the timeline. We can even make them speculate what would have happened if the character hadn't done this, right? Tell them about the history, the story, and if it's non-fiction. There comes questions like, what is the purpose of the text, or what is the information that can be extracted from it? And if they answer a question, right, how do you know the answer, right? Oh, because it's in the text. Yeah, but how do you know? Well, because, you know, Juan did this because the dinosaurs lived from this area to this area. You see, so having covering this, right, we can move on into myON. So if you have myON in your school, please log into your teacher's account. If not, I just provided a demo. Log into myON.com, right? You are going to see this screen. Click in myON login, and then you are going to have three lines: school name, username, and password. Right? I just that's it. If you want to use the demo, if you are already a teacher, if you have Santillana Compartir Sistema 1, just log into the LMS, right? You can access myON from there, and if not, use our demo. Here's the information. In the school name, search for Richmond, Colombia. Username is right here, rep10cc, and the password Richmond. All right, you already logged in, imagine, right? Let's copy this information onto the make an announcement here. This school name Richmond, Colombia, username rep. Right, there we go. And this is myON. This is the teacher's version of myON. The demo is not a teacher's account. It is a student's account. But we are going to cover. We are not going to go over like the teacher's part, but actually the literacy tools, right? So feel free to go to the library. I'm gonna show you like some books. We have here. Click on browse. Whatever your course is, whatever the level of your kids is, you have here tons of books to get from. Right? There are some books that I particularly like that are from Max Axiom Super Scientist. You can Google it. They're fantastic covers. There's many things. Right. So I'm going to search some books for the little ones. Okay, now when you are going to select a book, if you want to understand or pretty much see what the book is about, click on info here on the blue button. Info, and it's going to give you some information about what is the recommendation of the years, and this audio time is really important as well. This is the total length of the audio track of the book, right? Also the page count. Okay. Click on the book that you chose, and immediately it's going to open the book. There we go. We got the books. There we go. That's the first page. Now, on the left, on the right, here we have some tools, right? Tools. There we go. We have some tools. We have a dictionary, right? So how to use the dictionary? This is how the students are going to practice their vocabulary. Simply click on a word. Click on a word, and it's going to open the dictionary, or have them type the word. It has the pronunciation, and it has the definition. You can always tell your students, right, to use the arrows to go or go back, to pause, and to play. Next to the play button or the pause button, we have the volume. Straightforward. Then we have go back 10 seconds, right? In this case, is for one of the little ones. It's simple. And in the other, we have this button here. It's like the index page where you have the screenshots of each of the pages. Now, something important we can tell our students is the pages that are in blue are the ones that we already covered. The pages that are in black, we haven't read, right? Turn on, turn off. We have the zoom button. If you want them to explore the page a little bit more. And finally, we have the full screen. Now remember what I told you about tools, right? Click on the tools. In here is where the students get to play with the version. If you are having your students to find words, to make notes, right? We have all those informations here. We have the brush where they can write something here. They can make a circle. They can find something there. They can highlight the text, right? But and they can create post-its. Right? If you have your kids to create a post-it, right? It's simply click on it on the screen. You'll see there. The best thing is if you are having your kids play with the book, not just reading the book, you can read it as a student. Here in this icon on the right, read as a student, and you're going to see the list of the students. Bear with me, this is our demo, right? So we have all these students. In your case, if you already have an academic, if you are already a teacher using myON, you are going to see your students here. If you click on the name of the student, for example, Nadia, you are going to see the specific version of that student. What he or she, in this case Nadia, what she has interacted with the book, right? The same goes for Daniela, the same goes for Edward. You are going to see individually each copy of the digital copy of the student's book. Just right there. You are viewing this book as, and tells you the name of the student. How would it work? Why? Because you are asking your students to make notations, to play with the book. How would you do that? From the projects. I know that you already know how to make projects. If you don't know, there are some videos that we have shared. Ask your academic consultant from Richmond. But the projects are the ones that let you play, organize your class using book. You see, read as a student. Clicking it, continue as a teacher. Remember, this is a book for the little ones. Okay. Now, remember one of the elements of literacy, the first one, right? It's phonemic awareness. If you're going to practice with the little ones, like start reading properly in English, or start practicing the phonemes that we have in English, then this is a great part to have them select words in here, like for example, Zoom, right? Ask them, all right, please make a circle in the word Zoom, right? And you're going to have them record their mobile phones, I mean, on their parents' mobile phone, they're sharing information, the words, right? Zoom, and they can send them to you. Or when we are going to practice fluency with them, do the same thing, right? Have them read 1 or 2 pages, record it, and send them to you to see how they're working. With myON, it's fairly simple because ask them to lower the volume, like this, lower the volume, and then click on play. And then follow, like a karaoke. Follow the speed. All right? If it's too fast for the students, another tool that we have here is under settings. Right? We have the audio speed. Right? You can decrease it, or you can increase the speed. Right? So have them increase the speed and say it again. Now it goes slower. Have them record 4 red truck as a load of rocks. he cannot zoom down the track, right? You're practicing, you know, the pronunciation part of the words. I mean, the phonemic awareness, right? Now the word is zoom, right? Practice the vocabulary. Now, what is zoom? All right, it's like, you know, if you hadn't practiced out of the context, zoom would be a different word. Now they know that zoom here, it's like you go really fast, and you're practicing the fluency that sometimes it's really hard, you know, to practice online. Uh, Remember when I told you that in class you can have your students read out loud? Well, in here you can have them read, and depending on the speed that he or she would feel comfortable with. In this case, let's give it normal speed. If you see the little triangle, here it's the speed. One triangle is normal speed. If you decrease the speed, right, it's gonna look like this. The white triangle goes in the back. If you start increasing the speed, right, the play button or the triangle will start going forward. In this one, will be going faster. It's really up to you. I mean, the speed for sure. I recommend use normal speed, and a little bit slower when you want them to practice, right? Reading out loud those words and record those words for you. You can do that, or if you are going to do this, request it or tell them your students through a project, and you can tell them to select a specific page of the book and read it. Obviously, they have to record. They have to record either using the computer or, you know, the mobile phones. It's very, very, very simple, very straightforward to do it. Right, let's go back here a little bit. If you are using the demo, you can select any book out there, right? There's search. If you are using your own, your teacher's account, you can go to Classroom and a project. Right, we already have like some webinars about how to use projects and all. Right, there is one that I will show you basically how I would do it, how I would do with my students, right? Or how would I organize my class in order to practice not just reading books and writing answers, but give them a little bit more insight into what we're looking for, and it's the literacy part, right? So as in a class, your project should have some parts, right? And your class would normally we start with a warm-up. Sometimes in the warm-up we practice something important for the literacy, that is the vocabulary, practicing vocabulary from previous classes. But now we are not going to schools because of COVID-19, right? So, but we can do this. We can do the same here in myON. Have them practice. Have them remember, right? Engage them in an activity that will make them practice the vocabulary that we have already covered, or have them practice some pronunciation, right? In this case, I shared a video that is a TED Talk. There are some tiny robots dancing. This video has nobody's speaking. It uses robots dancing. Why? Because I'm focusing their attention into what I believe it's going to give them questions in their mind. How are the robots working? You know, the robots are dancing and they are synchronized much better than people. And then I'll have them to, you know, answer a couple of questions, right? And then you can start having them read the books. Let me show you how we select the books. All right. I'm not going to show you how to create a project, right? I'm going to show you it's how I see it in my mind that I want them to practice literacy, right? Using the tools that I show you, right? So all-purpose task, I want them to practice something, right? Like the video that I watched. If I click on the video, right, it's a very simple video about the top of robots dancing, right? But then I'm going to have them read. Here in this part, it's important that you explain them why they are reading these books and what you want them to do with the book. They don't really have to answer questions, but you can tell them to write 10 words you learned in your journal in order to practice, vocabulary, right? You can actually see if the kids are using the journal or not. You can see if they are using post-its in, the sticky notes into the digital copy of the book. Right. In this case, I selected 4 books about the future, about technology, but they have only they need to read 2 books. I don't know, the ones that they find more interesting from the list, and even like the choice. But when you do this, right, you can disable or enable the this here, the audio or the sentence highlighting or the word highlighting. It's really up to you. If we are, or even the literacy toolkit, I don't recommend that you disable them unless you decide you are creating some kind of exam, right? Right, where they have no access to it. But still, yeah, we're practicing for this literacy, so leave everything on. It won't hurt, right? So they can work on the audio, and they can find these words right in the journal, right? But then here it's where it comes like a little bit the comprehension part of what they read. Right, I ask them to write acknowledgement. Right, I'm not asking. Remember that in myON, every time you finish a book, you take a quiz, 5 questions, and these 5 questions are related, obviously, with the book. And there is a bank of around 35 questions per book. We don't get to select which questions are going to appear, right? But they are random. They are random from those questions. So we checked actually comprehension literally from the quizzes at the end of the book. But in here, what I want is take these fiction books. Remember that we have fiction and fiction. So how, from what we learn about technology, how will it affect our lives? So I'm trying to make them intake that information out of it, and try to see if they're comprehending how to propose an answer in here using a knowledge map. If you are using fiction, for example, you can create a character map, right? Who are the characters? Who are the main characters, right? If you selected a story, right? Use the timeline. So these charts will help you. Will help your students to really take in, right, the comprehension to the next level. It's just not answering questions. It's producing something that is beyond what they read from the book, right? Then I proposed, or I asked them to write. We have to be good readers, but we should know how to write. We practice vocabulary. I have them read. So now in here, you can practice a little bit of writing. I'm not going to go over it, but just how will the future look like, depending on the level of the students, depending on what your scope is with the students, depending if your students are practicing for your national exams, you can actually play with this and ask them to write something. Giving a word goal, having a couple of questions. If you are practicing how to create an essay, how to write a story, giving them a checklist, And if you want also your students to see what their partners are writing, share it, peer review, so they can, other students, they can see it. It's really up to you how to play with it, but remember, we are taking reading a little bit beyond. And finally, right, every time you finish a project, I don't know, let's say once a month or twice a term, right, give them a benchmark exam, right? In the benchmark, right, I know that many of you have seen it. It's basically some questions, some articles, some questions. They are not linked to any book, but this exam is going to tell you about the Lexile test. Now, if you don't really know what the Lexile is, you can Google Lexile levels. Lexile levels by grade. Right, and in the United States, right, how your kids are supposed to be reading. They are in Colombia, right, so we cannot follow this strict rule, but we usually take like maybe 100, 150 Lexile below what it says here, right? The Lexile doesn't have to do with the amount of words they know. No, it's a metric that allows you to know how much is your student able to read, to understand. And remember that every time that you see a book, I'm going to back to my library, search a book, right? If you want to use your Lexile, to the Lexile of your students, you can search by Lexile. If you are in 8th grade, right, I'm going to give them a window of 400 to 700 Lexile. And also give them the age, right? So somewhere between 6th, 9th, and then in here I can see the filters, right? One for Lexile, the other for age, search, and you have the books right there. Let's click on info, and in info in here, right, you see the Lexile, right? GN means graphic novel, right? They're pretty nice, right? And the level. If you have students, let's say, that are in 800 Lexile in average, and you see that this book is 410, probably it's going to be too easy for them. And the other way around, if you have students who are 400 Lexile on average in your class, and you give them a book of 800 Lexile, it's going to be too hard. Right, so always keep it in mind to give them the proper material that is books that are really suitable in their English level, in their comprehension level, vocabulary level. Remember that we are talking here as a whole. It's just not, you can say, oh, my students are in B1 plus. Yeah, but that B1 plus means what into reading? Can they read a magazine? Can they read a newspaper? Can they open a book and understand? So the Lexile will help you out to this. It's all about reading comprehension. All right, let's open the book. Title. I think I left it too slow. Yes. There we go. Oh, the voice of the giant. But anyway, you see here, remember to zoom. You can always zoom. Have your students here. Make it white. what you are going to practice with your students, if you are going to have them read the sentences or highlight the sentences, right? It's, remember, fluency and also the correct pronunciation. The process in the brain when you're acquiring languages, it's really tough, right? I know you have covered all this in your during your degree, during your major, but remember that the kids start learning that uh, one sound, when you connect it with another sound, it will form a word. Not necessarily they know how to write it, right? Eventually, right, they learn how to write it, right? So they start combining, you know, the correct letter with the correct sound to know how to read water, or as some of you would rather say, water, right? But it's in their brain that all these connections are happening. As I told you, a great idea would be have them to read a page or to read some sentences, depending on the, obviously, on the grade of your students. If your students are, I don't know, 10th, 11th graders, obviously you need to look for books that are more mature, that maybe they are more difficult, always depending on the level, on the Lexa level, on the English level of your students, right? If your school is not a bilingual school, but you are starting your process to emphasizing the English, then keep in mind the Lexa level of students, right? If your school has already, I don't know, 10, 15 years into the bilingualism process, and you are graduating, I don't know, B2 students, right? Give them material appropriate for their age and their level, right? So all these tools here, right? The tools that I just show you, right? Right? They allow you to take the book a little bit beyond. I know there's nothing like the sensation of having a book and opening and feeling the texture, even the smell. Well, if you have allergies, probably forget one book. But I mean, the sensation of a book that you like is really nice, right? Just remember any book that you like. But right now, we cannot just have access to physically to all those books. So we have myON. If I show you myON at the beginning, right? How many books did we have? They were like 7,000 or something. Browse. Like 7,060 books. Right? Including, obviously, there are some books that are bilingual, some books that are in Spanish, and a very few percentage that are Mandarin. But anyway, 7,060 books. So we are going to have access to all this library, right? To give the opportunity to our students to start practicing, right, towards understanding. We are not just focusing on reading comprehension in an exam, 25% of the grade, right? Yes, you're doing it okay. You're struggling, or you don't know much. We really have to give the students the proper tools, the proper way for them to start becoming more independent, right? Whenever you study, whenever you start understanding the common European framework of reference, A1, A2, B1, B2, right? The difference between A2 and B1 in people's mind, I mean, when you try to explain it, maybe it's not much, but the biggest difference out there is that the A2s, think about your students, A2s, they are still nervous about the language. B1s, they start becoming dependent, right? Think about your 6th graders versus your 8th or 9th graders or 11th graders. When your students cross the borderline or the threshold of A2, B1, they start becoming independent. They stop being afraid, or they will start being less afraid of reading in English, of accessing information in English, right? A2s, they still need instructions. B1s, and obviously anything above, English starts becoming natural. And as many of us, we are, our level is high. We are not afraid of a text. We are not afraid of a book. We are not afraid of a newspaper. I mean, if obviously if it's something that we are interested on, if you are not going to take the Financial Times if you don't know, if you don't like finances. I'm not going to read the sports section if I don't like it. but my point is, I wouldn't consider the language as a barrier, right? Because I have the level required to understand what is said. The same happens to your students. All right. So always keep in mind that we want our students to become more independent. Right now that we are giving all these virtual classes, keep in mind that or bear in mind that we want our students to become less afraid of English, right? There'll be the day that they are going to, they graduate. I don't know, they graduate from 11th grade, and some of them maybe send you a WhatsApp or send you a text. Hey, teacher, what's up in English? So you go like say, well, hey, how you doing? I'm studying at university. Why? Because you are an English teacher and they want to keep practicing. Don't give your WhatsApp number to your students, please. What I'm saying is, if they cross that threshold, that borderline, right, of becoming an independent user of the language, they will be definitely much more independent and happier. They wouldn't get nervous at the moment of access to English. In this case, related to reading and some part of writing, as some of you actually said. So I'm gonna stop here for a moment because I'm gonna go over the questions. I want to know if there are some questions.
Hi, Gabriel. Sure, we have some questions.
Cool.
Teachers want to know if you can show them the audio of the books, because I think it wasn't allowed.
Well, yes, that would have been fantastic, but I'm afraid I cannot transmit audio during the webinar. Right?
Okay.
If that's why I give you the demo. Log in, feel free. This demo will work for 1 week. I'm sorry, right? But just log into the demo, look for the books that you want. In fact, if all of you are logged in, either with the teacher's account or with the demo, I click here under browse, library, then browse. Let's go for a book, right? I don't know, maybe hobbies and how-tos that nowadays people under quarantine, they want to know, they want to learn stuff, right? Hobbies, right? If you're doing it with me, right, you'll see the audio. I cannot transmit the audio, I'm sorry, but in here we get to see, for example, deer hunting for kids. Oh my God, who hunt deers? This one, all about horse care. It's not that I have horses, but if you click, please, Uzi, I cannot transmit audio right now, or maybe I can. Let me see if you can hear my headphones, my microphone.
So while you check that, maybe I can help you. There is another question. They're asking if there are some Spanish titles as well on myON.
Right, give me a second and I'll answer. All right, look, I'm gonna play here. I have all the volume, so you might be able to hear something. Little bit. Yeah. All right, so I'm trying to transmit this, but sometimes it's a bit difficult. So use the demo and try to find this information there. Sorry, Angelica, what was the question?
Gabriel, the next question is, do we have some Spanish titles in myON?
Absolutely right. Go the remember that we have like 7,000 books, right? So here go to library and search. Right. Please do the same. What we will answer the question. So you go to library, search, and then you have an icon here that is language. In language, you are going to have access to whatever it is that you're looking for, right? Spanish, Español, selected from there, and you're going to see the books. So from those 7,000 books, we have 490 books that are in Spanish.
Okay, we have another question. Can I share my project with other teachers even if they don't have myON account?
How would you use the project in the first place? Right, you could tell them, I mean, you could tell them about the project, but remember that the projects in myON, they require you to have the platform, right? What we can do is in your faculty, the teachers, your fellow teachers in the same institution, right? You can actually share the material, or you can actually download the material from the projects that have been shared in the cloud. Just click here on the icon, and you can see the projects that have been shared by your community. All right. Let's see. Right now, my demo has no community. In your case, it will appear here the projects that your teachers have shared. All right. If the other teachers they don't have myON, you cannot download books, right? You really need the platform. So no, I'm sorry, you cannot. I mean, you want to show, you can show it to them, but they wouldn't be able to use it without the platform.
And finally, we have this question: how can I check my students' results when they finish a book?
Great question. All right, so the students finish a book. You can go to your classroom, right? And then you go to the list of students, right? When your students finish a book, right, in here, right, you are going to see like the list of students that are in your roster. Your roster is the amount of students that are linked to you because you are the teacher. Can you see my screen, Angelica?
Yes, Gabriel. Perfectly clear.
Okay, there we go. So it will show you the list of students. So go and find your class in this part in here, like teachers 5 class. So class that I created there. Click on the eye to filter. Then this guy here, Juan Manuel Borda, he's apparently a good student. Right, I'm gonna click on his name, and then in here will appear the books that he has read. Okay, apparently Juan Manuel is not the best student out there, so he hasn't read anything. Sorry, no, just kidding. This is a demo, right? So the students that are here are not real students. In your case, your student will see here the book title, right? The title of the book, the lexile, and this is important: open and lax access. If they open the book just to see it, right, no problem, they can do that. But if they finish the book, it means that they read the whole book and they took the quiz. It will appear here, books finished, right? And it will give it a score, all right? So in here is where you have, where you can actually see what the students, how the students are reading from the books that where they have access to. Important, please keep in mind, open books versus books finished. Open books is just any book they have a glance, they had a glance, and books finished are the ones where they took the quiz. Okay, so books finished are actually the ones that They took the quiz and gave it an answer. Sorry, a score out of 5 questions. Remember, it's a percentage.
Okay, Gabriel, those were all the questions that we had.
Were they?
Yes, that's all.
All right, so if there are no more questions, let's go back to the presentation. Now we have covered. There is a Colombian term. There is a Colombian term, right? In English, it's learned by doing, but I prefer the Colombian term, that is cacharrear, right? So you really have to get into the platform. The advantages are huge. If you don't have myON, if your school doesn't have myON, but definitely you see the benefits. You can always ask your Richmond representative and have them to give up more information. It's a really good tool in order to increase our students literacy. I'm going to show you this this final slide, right? You all know this man here, very famous, Albert Einstein. Well, he was also a teacher, but from his point of view, I really like this quote. I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. It's really up to us, right? It's really up to us to give them the tools where they can learn, but they are the ones who have to learn. Colombian education system is not like the best, right? But we have to make do, right? And it's really rewarding where you can see that your kids, your little ones, your preschoolers, your first or second graders, they start reading better, right? Why? Because we took the comprehension a little bit beyond. So thank you very much, Angelica. If there is no more questions, there are no more questions, right?
There are no more questions, Gabriel.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you very much for Angelica for monitoring and helping us with the questions. I really hope that I show you how to extract, all the things from myON. If you have any questions regarding what I just, you remember, Gabriel mentioned something about this, you can always ask your Richmond consultant. We all know this information, and we'll be sharing you also this recording, right? So people,
Gabriel,
thank you. Yes.
Don't forget the survey. I'm going to share the link of the survey with them. So please, I'm going to ask you to just click on the link and answer some questions about this webinar. Your opinion is very important for us.
Thank you, Angelica. Yes. Here in this part of the screen, right? Go and click on the link. It's a short survey of your how you liked these webinars, right? Did you already publish it? Yes, it is.
Yes, I did.
Right
so
there, just click on it and answer the questions. I mean, it's very straightforward. Right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. We'll be showing this recording. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye.